which divisions you liked, which groups you liked. Do you like groups? First of all, I said groups because I hate pods. Pods just sound so stupid. He honestly sounds like a guy who broke up, or who a girlfriend broke up with him. She was really insanely hot, but she was super annoying, and he's starting to realize, oh my God, this is so much better. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master of Football, back at it again. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for being here. Never been here before. This is Jake with Master of Football. All things pro football, college football, video game football, anything related to American football we discuss in the show right now. Please subscribe. Please like. Please share. Please comment. Please subscribe. Please do all that stuff. I'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, so here we are, and college football is a little quiet right now. And again, the big aspect of pro football is that, combine starts pretty soon here. Free agency starts pretty soon. The NFL offseason never really takes a break. So whenever we get college football news, I'm always like, yo, dude, we got to hop on that right now. There's a little bit of college football news that happened recently. So I'm a big fan of those Sikkim 365 guys over at 365 Sports. We're going to go ahead and show a clip from their channel that I want to show you about, because it talks about Bob Bowlsby, and Bob Bowlsby in this interview is hilarious. So Bob Bowlsby in this interview, he was really funny, he was quick, he was smart, he had a lot of things going on. He sounds like he was like a rejuvenated man. He honestly sounds like a guy who broke up, or who a girlfriend broke up with him. She was really insanely hot, but she was super annoying, and he's starting to realize, oh my God, this is so much better. The hot chick in this instance being Texas and OU. Let's check and see what Bob Bowlsby had to say.
There has been discussion at times about super conferences, whether that ever gets to that point or not. Do you ever see the Big 12 looking further to get to 16?
There may be opportunities down the road, and it's hard to tell where those opportunities could come from. But when we were doing the press conference for the 4 new members, I said very clearly, this may not be the last tranche of schools that we take, and so whether we would go to 16 or whether we'd go to 20, who knows? Might be something in between. But
okay, so we were talking about 10, and now the Big 12 is going to go to 14 for the next couple of years, and they're going to drop back down to 12. They might go to 16, 20, somewhere in between. That is nuts. Now, keep in mind, later on in that clip, and I cut it out, but later on in that clip, he basically stated that, the bigger you get, the more it hurts things, the more it hurts those regional rivalries. Right now they play a double round robin in basketball. They would play a round robin in football, so it's pretty even across the board. But let's get our crystal balls out here, because they are in a situation where, what if they do? I mean, they're going to be at 12 when Texas and Oklahoma leave. So they're going to be at 12. Do they go to 14? Do they go to 16? Do they go to 18? Do they go to 20? How would that work? How would that look? I want to go ahead and bring up a previous video that they had that kind of indicates what the kind of the parameters for who they're going to pick would be, and then we're going to get into what that actually would look like. So let's get into it. So this is from a previous video they had, and this is Tony Altmore. And Tony Altmore does a lot of this research for how these universities pick their schools. So you see over here on the left side, they've got a big indication of who they were kind of looking at: Boise State, Memphis, SMU, USF, Tulane, Rice, Colorado State, Air Force, Army, Navy, San Diego State, Southern Miss, New Mexico, and then UNLV. It says right here, you can see the fact that if it's green, it means you're better than 75% of the conference. If it's red, it means you're below everybody. If it means you're light green, you're kind of in the middle. If it means you're yellow, you're at the bottom quarter. So you can see across the board that there's certain aspects this is mostly institutional stuff. But this is generally the schools that they're kind of looking at. So I went ahead and picked a couple schools there. And again, I know I'm going to be a huge homer here, but honestly, you can see the fact that Boise State was mentioned several times in one of these things. It looks like they're part of that first group after the initial Chapter 1. If they have a Chapter 2, they'd probably be in that second group. But I want to get into what it would actually look like if they actually went to, 14, 16. I have 18 and 20. Let's get into that real quick. So I've got this, and this took me a while to kind of put together, because you want to make sure you kind of factor in a couple different things here. So I put down, if they go to 14 teams, I add Boise State and Memphis and South Florida. So South Florida's advantage is that they are very, very close to Central Florida. It would be Central Florida would be thrilled about that. Again, they have several things they have to work on. South Florida is currently trying to improve their football program. They're trying to make sure they want to actually have a stadium, because right now they play where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play. The problem is it's a couple miles from their university campus. They want it to be on their university campus because it gives you the ambience of having students and things like that. People can walk to the game. It's a lot better. So Memphis looks like they're trying to get their ducks in a row. It looks like at one point they were kind of like slowly delaying things, but they're trying to get their things in a row there. So Memphis, I think, is the better probably pick in terms of like the prettiest girl, whereas South Florida is kind of like South Florida is to Central Florida what Boise State is to BYU. A regional partner, pretty good at everything, wouldn't really hurt you there. So what would you do there? You would have your 2 divisions, 7 members. I think you would cut it up into the West. So Baylor, Boise State, BYU, Houston, Oklahoma State, TCU, and Texas Tech. And then you'd have in the East, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas State, UCF, West Virginia, and USF/Memphis. 6 games versus your group, 3 games versus the other division, mean 9 games. The one issue, though, is the fact that Oklahoma State would be separated from their former Big 8 friends of Iowa State, Kansas, and Kansas State. But again, you could kind of sort those things out. I actually want to go into the next one here to tell you what my thoughts are on sorting those out. All right, so if you go to 16, this 16 fits a lot better than 14. I think 14 is not bad. A lot of teams have done 14, but I actually like 16 a lot more. So you go add Boise State, Memphis, SMU, and USF. Those are the 4 that were rumored if the Big 12 does go to a Chapter 2. So what they would do there is 4 groups of 4 members. The North, I cut it up into the old Big 8 members, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State. East, I have the 2 Florida schools, and then I have the 2 kind of Appalachia schools, Cincinnati and West Virginia. I know Cincinnati's not necessarily there. But then you have the South, and then you have Houston, Memphis, SMU, and Texas Tech. I'll get back to this in a second here because I actually think Texas Tech would love this. And then West would be Baylor, Boise State, BYU, and TCU. So BYU and Baylor would be the Sailor game. BYU, TCU, old rivalry. Boise State, TCU, old rivalry. Again, kind of a newer rivalry, excuse me. But if you think about this here, so Texas Tech, they would be kind of upset because like, oh, no, what about our rivalries? What about SMU, TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, Memphis? And again, you would try to maintain those through an assignment. We'll get through that assignment here in a second. But think about this from Texas Tech's perspective. If this actually happened, they would basically say, hey, we're going to go to recruits in Dallas, Houston, and Memphis. And we're going to say, hey, we're going to be in your home city every other year. We're going to be playing in your home city every other year. Memphis, Dallas, Houston, 3 top recruiting grounds and playing in their city. Not on TV, not over here, not over there, in your city. I think Texas Tech would love that. But right there, maintain those rivalries. And again, this goes for all conference realignment options. We'll make sure that you can have a situation where if somebody gets split up, they're still able to maintain a long-standing rivalry or something like that. But then you think here, 3 games versus your group. So like I said, 4 groups, 4 members, 3 games versus your group, 2 games a year versus each of the other 3 groups equals 9 games. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, 9-game conference schedule. All right, next up is 18 teams. So 18 teams gets a little goofy. You're going to have to get a little creative here. But again, it would be adding Boise State, Colorado State, Memphis, SMU, USF, and Tulane. So if you watched a couple of those videos there, Tulane was actually very highly rated in terms of academics. And they're trying to do their best. Again, they've got their own on-campus stadium. A very, very good job. They're trying to build it up. But they're just people kind of overthink Tulane there for a second there. So 3 groups of 6 members. The North group would be Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia. So Cincinnati, West Virginia would join the former Big 8 teams. The South would be South Florida, Central Florida, Tulane, Houston, Memphis, and SMU. So seeing that one right there would basically say it would take SMU away from their conference members. They would take them out of Dallas. But they're kind of the new member. That's the reason why I would kind of move them with that. But that maintains a couple of their other rivalries there. And then the West would be Baylor, Boise State, BYU, Colorado State, TCU, and Texas Tech. So this is how I would do it. Like I said, there's 3 groups. You'd have 5 games versus your group, then 2 games a year versus the other 2 groups. So 2 times 2 is 4, plus 5 equals 9 games. All right, the next one is if you go to 20 teams. So 20 teams, I mean, first of all, this would be shocking. So I'm assuming, here's what the reason why I think about this. If you go to 20 teams, this is just giant. You're going to have to get real creative. You could do, you could do 4 groups of 5. I did, or 5 groups of 4. I did 4 groups of 5. I added Boise State, Colorado State, Memphis, SMU, Tulane. I also added South Florida and then San Diego State and UNLV. I'll get to Fresno State and Rice here in a second because I can tell they're not going to be happy about this one. But what I did here was the East. I basically had it as Cincy, Memphis, USF, UCF, and West Virginia. The South would be Baylor, Houston, SMU, TCU, and Tulane. The North, Iowa State, Kansas, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, and Texas Tech. So Texas Tech would be separated from those former Texas schools, but they would play those former Big 12 schools that they've always played. And then the West would be Boise State, BYU, Colorado State, San Diego State, and UNLV. Here's what I would do. 4 games versus your group, then 1 game a year versus each of the other groups, plus 1 additional game versus a particular group that would rotate every year. So again, so you've got 4 groups. You play everybody in this group, and then you play 2 people, and then 1 and 1. You could also situate it where you could play, 2 people, and then 1. So every other year you would play one of the conference or one of the groups. You'd only play one of the teams. You would get it to 9 games, or in this case, I have it as 8 games. So I also make sure I had this indicated here. Who would get left out? Who would be furious at this? Again, 20 teams. You'd feel like you're pretty enough to get into the dance. Fresno State, I said more consistent threat on the gridiron than UNLV, but lack of a market infrastructure hurts them. In terms of, UNLV is, it kind of would be like a Maryland addition into the Big Ten. Doesn't really add a lot, but again, it adds a market. It adds certain aspects. You can tell that the university is trying their best to improve things. I mean, they play in the Raiders Stadium. It's awesome. So they've got a lot going for them in terms of UNLV over Fresno State. And then Rice, it says right here that if the Big 12 really, first of all, the Big 12 really expands out west, then further saturation of the Texas market wouldn't help a lot despite their academic success. Success in the AAC could change this a lot. And again, I want to make sure I indicate that there is that I'm interested to see what actually happens to Rice in the AAC, just because, again, what the AAC was they prioritized big markets and potential. So hopefully if Rice can come through, man, I mean, you never know. They might be the belle of the ball. They might get it over, something like SMU. I actually doubt that. But they could be an addition down the road. But right now I had them as the first 2 left out, especially if they get to that 20-team mark. So what's going on right now, again, that's all hypothetical, and I really appreciate everybody who's sticking with me on that one. But I do think the first thing is like he said, that they're going to wait until 2023, make sure all the dust settles and all the new additions. And a big aspect about this is a lot of people are like, why would they add? Why would they add? Why would they add? A big reason why you add is insulation against other conferences coming and taking things. Who knows? What if Kansas turns their football around? That Kansas looks good for the Big 12, or excuse me, for the Big 10. You just don't know what's going to happen. Last time that the Pac-12 was looking to expand, they were looking at Houston and TCU. You don't know if they want to come out west to the Texas market. So the adding of teams would be insulation against any further losses. So that's what you're looking for there. But again, let me know what you guys think, which conferences you liked, which divisions you liked, which groups you liked. Do you like groups? First of all, I said groups because I hate pods. Pods just sound so stupid. But get in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Raider Tuesday. I am out.